Hello, everyone. So, for the final challenge in the challenge February Cherry Blossom watercolor subscription that we got this month, I sent you this sheet, which is a challenge card for doing one of those crazy trees that I love to do. They're kind of like quasi bonsai trees, right? So, if you haven't checked out the other subscription videos, that go along with this, they are in the subscription playlist, and I encourage you to go and try out these challenges too, because they were a lot of fun and kind of bring you to where we're going to be with this one. So this one, you can either do it with a background and use maybe the blues, or mix the blue and the pink together and get like a purple or lavenders. You can do pretty much whatever you want to. You can do a smoky background, whatever you feel like. But how I'm going to attack this is doing the tree branches first, and then we're going to add the rest. Now, you can, if you want to, you could do an entire wash of blue first, or you could do like a mottled wash of blue like we did here. You can add that later. You could do a pink, a beautiful pinky, or like this kind of like toned sky would be really fun. There's all kinds of stuff you can do here. You can even go back in on this one. If you don't like the peach, that was like a dirty palette challenge type of thing for the sky. You could also do a blue sky. So, whatever it is that you like and that speaks to you, I suggest you do that. For me, I'm going to do probably just kind of going to go with the flow and not make a plan, because I like to do that. I just kind of like to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to be using the Fabriano paper, which is my favorite paper of all of our subscription paper this month. And I'm just going to kind of go to town. I will give you the play-by-play as I do this. And yeah, let's just have fun, shall we? This is just going to be fun. Okay. So I can either use a pointed round or the longer pointed detail brush from the website. Both will work great. Just going to grab the umber color. This is gray umber from my handmade watercolor cherry blossom set that you got in the subscription package. So I'm going to have a little bit of the gray umber there. And then I probably, just because I like to do it, I'm going to take some of the shadow blossom color and put that on the other side. Okay, so I got a little bit of shadow blossom, a little bit of gray umber, and let's just start our crazy tree. So setting my brush on its side, I'm just going to kind of draw myself a basic outline of where I want to go with the tree. Isn't that a pretty color? Picking up a little bit of the gray, I'm going to dry brush in here so that we can give it that neat, sketchy, mottled effect. Picking up a little bit more of the color just so that it has that reference of strength. And I went this way, and then I went this way, just so that I have more texture. Taking a little bit more of the color and dropping it in just kind of like I'm using my brush as a pencil, and I'm just doing a lot of sketchy lines so that we don't get too much. That's what I love about this brush. This one comes in a set, and it comes with this little stand and a little mixing palette for you to put your paints in. I love the brush because I can choose to get something with water, or I can choose to just get like a pencil kind of sketch in watercolor from this brush. When I found them, I was like, oh, these are just amazing. So I suggest that you add this to your next subscription if you didn't get it this time around, because you can do lighter washes, you can sketch with it. I mean, it's just, and the point is great because you see what I'm doing, the point where I'm able to sketch a lighter wash of that color. This is all just my gray umber color, which has a little bit of the pink in it. I'm using some of that pink through there because I really love this pink. It's so pretty. And when I get the pink into the tree, I feel like it just gives us that beautiful mix. So I'm using just very sketchy lines in kind of different weights. Now I'm adding just some random lines that might be able to show up even when I add the blossoms to the tree. I want enough of the heaviness on this tree, so I'm kind of like going in some areas on the side of my brush to establish a thicker portion of the tree, and going light and dark, dipping into water, grabbing some color. And as I go more into the background, I do even lighter wash on this side. Just want to give it that kind of mottled effect texture. This is that neat dry brushing effect I'm able to do with this brush. Isn't that pretty? So again, sketching. This is a really fun part because, you know, a lot of times you overpaint because you just need that motion in your life, right? You just want to kind of sketch away and just have some fun. And I'm almost out of color, so let's just do some random little branches here. We'll figure it out later. Okay. So that's that one. Okay, now just for fun. Now, technically, this is the part where I could do like a background wash. Maybe I should just for fun, so that you have a reference of a background wash. So I'm going to use the larger version of this brush, and let's grab a little bit of the pink, mix it into the dirty palette that we already have, because that's going to give us even more cohesive structure to our painting. And there's so many things we can do. I mean, I can literally start splashing this, which maybe let's just start splashing. Let's move this. Hopefully I won't splash too much, but let's get a nice watery mix and just start splashing that really light pink around the tree. Now this is a very stiff brush, you know, but it's got a lot of control in it, and actually it does a good job on this without making too much of a splashy mess everywhere. So this is obviously something that you would use to just build it up. So I'm kind of going in different areas, and then I'm just gonna start smearing it with some water. And bam, I have a nice kind of moody, wistful background. Just like that. Simple. So that's a very, very easy, light, pale background that you can start with. You can take the smaller version. So this is the 8 size in this brush. And I can grab a bunch of the pink and watch this. So we want to angle this so that we just start randomly hitting the page. Don't worry about the direction right now. It can be all the same direction, because ultimately as we smear it, it's just going to go in every direction anyway. So I added some pink in this way. And to see what happens is it just keeps it like really lovely and random, and then when it hits areas that are already wet. And now we can add some water and just start splashing. I personally love the randomness. This is not the biggest brush in the world to be able to do the splashes, but what we can do with this is just improv and go through and just wet little areas. Or you can take a spray, then take some color and drop it onto one spray of water. And what it'll do is it'll hit areas like this, that some that are wet and some that are dry. And that will give you that disbursement that's like very uneven, but it will happen like really fast. I'm going to take some of the orange, mix it in with a little bit of the cherry, and decide kind of just by eye where I want some of that lovely orange to be. And I'm mixing it up, going into some areas that are just super, super wet, so it disperses, and some of it is very, very dry. Like some of these areas are super, super dry. And that's what's going to give us that beautiful looseness automatically without even trying. The idea is just to kind of smear it around into some wet, some dry areas. And if you get an area that just doesn't look very wet, well, you can also tap it with your finger, and that will loosen up the paint. Mixing some of the orange with some of the pink right in my palette. I love this area here. And this is the beauty of watercolor, right? Allowing it to just mix and mingle together into wet and dry areas. And some of this background is still wet, which is nice because I can take a little bit of the color and just kind of let it develop down in some of the areas. Isn't that pretty? I can even put some here. And ultimately, you know, even if you don't try and get a masterpiece. Just try and get something. Just have fun. Just be present. Get something that is exciting to you and that you love. And if it turns out to be a masterpiece, amazing. That's great. If it doesn't matter. You've just learned something from it. And that's what you want. You know, you want to look at the colors. And this is an exploration on the new colors that you're just experiencing, on how to control paint, how to mix paint. Do you like orange and pink together? Do you like it separate? Do you like it when it hits the water and it disperses? Do you like the way honey watercolor and handmade watercolor reacts as opposed to what you've been using? There's so many things that you're learning right now in this experience that you don't even realize, you know, going over the branches versus under the branches. Do you paint them first? Are you going to go back and paint some more later? Can you, you know, if you add a little dark to it, what happens? What do you like that mix in there? Do you like it all lighter and then to dry and then maybe re-wet some areas? And so there's all kinds of little decisions happening right now that you don't even realize. So just be present, stay in the moment, and every once in a while take a look at what you've got and see if you're moving in the right direction or if you want to change it. You can always start over. There's always more paper in the world. And, an artist is going to paint literally millions of paintings, hopefully, even before you develop your style. Like, this is the way I would attack this in this particular size painting, but it's just one little idea for it. There are so many more. So now that I've kind of got in some of a mix of colors, I want it to be even more random. So here's what I got so far. So I have a little bit down here and smudging. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to really go a little heavier with the spackling. So I need something that is going to be just even more random. So let's try this one that we used before with the other and get a mix of the brighter cherry. And let's just see what happens. I'm going to get it wet enough and see if it gives me that. Yeah, I love it. So this is giving me that nice disbursement of color. And if I stay in one area a little longer, it does build up and give me a little bit more than just those really tiny little dots. But again, let's get a little orange. I like the little dots because this is a very small painting and we need texture. And I want, I have a very loose style. And if I make this more wet, then the drops get bigger. And remember, I'm a very loose style painter. I like to make a mess and then see what I have. I love the randomness of watercolor and what I can get watercolor to do in these kind of circumstances. So this is an opportunity for me to just play with these paints that I have just made and, see what I would change, what I would do differently, and what I would keep the same. Like I said, I'm not after making a masterpiece on the first try. This is more like a sketch, a study of the color, Let's dot in some heavier pieces of orange into certain areas. We don't want the orange to take over. And then I'm going to grab some concentrated pink. Go back in. I really love this. This is so much fun. Another option is like this puddle. If you want it to be more pronounced, you can dry it out, grab some color, and then splash it back in a little heavier. And now you've got, see what you have is a lot more heavier detail. I love this up here. I actually really like that. If it gets too wet and you feel like it needs to be more pronounced, you could always dry some out, or you can wait till it dries and then go back in with another layer. So I think for right now, let's leave that where it is. I really love it. I'd like a little more detail, I think, here. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to take this pointed round, add some of my gray umber into this red mix until I get more gray umber than red, like the reddy pink, but I still want some of the pink. And so right here, let's dry off my brush a bit. That was one of the good things about this is you can just tap your brush on it and it will dry it nicely. I'm placing my finger underneath so I don't smudge my paint as I draw in some of these just random lines. I'm going to try and draw them in for texture without really breaking up all of the really nice stuff going on here. Get a little more of the brown as we go in here. I just want it to look very, I don't know. It's really just me playing and experimenting and trying to drive the fear out of you. Because I think that if I don't, if I constantly leave drawings alone and don't just kind of like play with them more and more, you're never going to. You're going to be approaching this subscription with too much fear. And it's intimidating enough to get new paints, but it's also very exciting and very fun. And I want you to use what I send you to have a really good time. So now I'm experimenting with what it looks like if I kind of go into the white space and add a little more darker pieces of tree. I'm not really sure that I need it. I kind of love this the way it is, but this is just the time to find out, because this is not the masterpiece. This is the drawing. It's lovely, huh? So I'm darkening up just some little areas here. And I do like them. We could actually use some more paint over this little side here. So let's go ahead and cover some of our branches with some more intentional paint. Just because I want to break up the branchy look in some areas. Like, I don't want it to be a continual line from here all the way to here. I'd like you to have to use your brain a little bit, and I'd like the blossoms to be a little brighter in some areas. And in order to get some depth, I'm using some of the shadow color and then just smearing it with my finger. And that's just in areas where, like, maybe it's going over the branch. And I'm feeding in some of these wet areas with some more of this really bright cherry paint. And now see, this area is like kind of melted together. So it's still quite wet. So I'm just going to drop in a little more color in just a few spots. And we'll see what that does. Because I want it kind of like some of it to be a little more pronounced and some of it not to be. And in order to get that, we kind of have to treat it while it's still drying. Because if it just dries, I'm going to have to, partially wet it again anyway. But, like I said, nothing's set in stone. Just drop in the color, smear it around with your finger if this is the style that you're going for. If you're going for a more pronounced little flower on your tree and not so messy, then have at it and enjoy. I'm just kind of jumping in with what's in my imagination. I'd love to see what is in your imagination. So if you would use the link and come over to the Facebook group, I would love to see what you painted. Even if you're not part of our subscription and you don't, and you can't join it, I would still love to see your take on this and see what kind of colors you came up with and how you approached it. You are so welcome in our group, no matter what. We just ask that you read the group rules and maintain the really nice supportive atmosphere that we have in our group with 80-something thousand people. It's crazy. It has grown so much. It's only been like 6 months. And we have literally like 80,000 something people in the group now. Okay. I'm going crazy because I love the color. The color is just so beautiful. So I'm going to leave this here And let's take a picture of it. As messy as I am, I've got paint all over me, which is the usual thing. These are the previous ones painted. So I will spread them around so we can get a nice picture and everybody can see what's going on here. Turned out really good, huh? I like it. Where's my phone? There it is. Oh, it looks good. Looks really pretty on the picture. You know, another way that I really see if I like a painting is by taking a photograph of it. Because when I take a photo of it, I can really see, like right now in the photo, this looks too, it doesn't look like, it looks like it needs more here. Yeah. Isn't that funny? And I only saw that in the photo. Just needed to break it up a bit and get some color going. Because it was just too woody, like too much tree. And it looks a little bit like it needs more at the bottom here than at the top. So take a look at your artwork through your phone, because I have a feeling you're going to see it a little differently. All right, I'm going to randomly dry it in a couple areas so that it doesn't look, there we go. Yep, that actually does look better. Isn't that funny? See how much better it looks? See, like that area right there, it just looks a little bit too heavy. And this is actually, this line I do not like. I actually want it to, like, I can't see these splashes as well on the phone. So the phone makes it look, I don't know, like this is lovely movement, but it looks like it needs more splatters because it's so white. But in the photograph, it doesn't look like that. You'll see the photo when I share it. It's so funny. Bizarre. Yeah, I almost feel like I just want more shadowing down here in my background. It just feels too empty. These are like little fine-tuning details, right? But this is why it's great to experiment and just kind of like look at it, review it, think about it, and do multiple versions, because you're just going to come up with different ideas. Like, see, I really love the way this is going, but it breaks up that line, you know, that I was seeing in my phone. Literally, like, see how that is so much nicer down there now because the line isn't as strong. And it really needed it because it was just, it was too strong. Yeah, that's much better. It's just much more, it's like more melted. I actually think, you know, it'd be pretty if we did some like, some very light pink mountains in the background. Mm-hmm. Right? That's actually what it needed. Didn't it? Yeah, now it looks better. And as they dry, I'm going to have to keep my eye on the branches and make sure that they just don't, like, all the cherry blossoms don't look like they're in back of the branches. You know what I mean? Like some are in front. Okay. There we go. All right, so after it dries, then what I would do with this is I would check for any areas that look like puddles that need to be broken up. But then also remember, you don't want it to be like too busy, right? Like it's already pretty busy. But what I would check is just that you don't have any big blobs of color without light and dark areas, and just add a little bit of shadowing to those. And also look for, is there too much white here? Does that make sense? Do we want to see through the cherry blossom tree that much? Perhaps I do, you know? And for the next one, you know, would I like to have this area be more sky and this area be more cherry blossom tree? I definitely like the lighter areas extending down. I think that that makes a big difference. And I'm thinking next time I might wash out some of the branching. Just looking at it, I'm thinking I might wash out some of the branching, if not like, and then color it, just so that it doesn't show through. Which I can probably just do when it dries with just a few little dots of color. Yeah, easy peasy. So just taking a little bit of the cherry blossom color and making that a little darker as a little bit of a layer to break up some more of my branches. And I'm letting the paper kind of be really loose. And then every once in a while, I just roll the brush over so that it gives it a little bit of a dry brush smear, which you can also do with your finger. And this is just a personal preference. You might not see this at all. For me, I just want to make sure I have more foreground and background and not just seeing too much of my burnt umber. And what I could probably do moving forward to make it faster, if I wanted to keep the layers lighter, is just go much lighter with the tree and then do the details on the tree after I'm really happy with the cherry blossoms. So that's another way to do it. Even, I don't know that I would put all the cherry blossoms in before the tree, because then you're going to end up really having to get in there, and ultimately it's going to look like you added the tree later. But I think now that I've done this one, I could probably draw the tree in knowing that I'm going to have like this area of paint, you know. But again, I could have just washed away some of the tree, you know, just erased it and then let it dry and put the cherry blossoms over. That's cool. But see, ultimately that this color, this cherry blossom color, is so nice and beautiful and bright that once dry, you can add an almost opaque layer to your painting. Yeah, so lovely. I love what's going on here. This is really cool. I like that. And even it didn't even mess up all of the dots, like all of the splatter. The splatter stayed. Okay, another picture. Oh yeah, much more happy. Look at that. Can you see it? Much more happy. I like it. So now it doesn't look even. It's covering more of the branches. I have some more drop down here. I have something filled in this space here that's just way off in the distance. I have foreground and like receded areas of the tree. This still looks a little bit white, but only in this picture. It does not look like that in the actual picture, so we're going to leave it alone. Okay. Go to Facebook and you can see the final. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Good to paint with you. I really hope you take the challenge. I can't wait to see. Share it on Facebook in our watercolor group using the hashtag Jack's Art Challenge, which is also located here on your cards. And happy painting, guys.